What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the PT Playbook. My name is Brett Zimmerman, and the PT Playbook, if you're new here, is about pre-PT and everything physical therapy, getting into that dream graduate school. Today, we're going to be talking about letters of recommendation. Now, letters of recommendation can be a big thing when applying to graduate school. A lot of physical therapy programs and graduate schools require a certain amount of letters of recommendation from a given amount of people. Kind of the way it works is that in physical therapy school, a lot of the schools are looking for letters of recommendation from a professor, a physical therapist, and any type of faculty or any type of mentor or supporter that you may have. The biggest thing is choosing who you want to write these letters of recommendation. And today, that's what we're going to get into. We're going to go over why letters of recommendation even matter in the first place. We're going to talk a little bit about how to choose the right people to ask, or when to ask those people. Also, we're going to go into how the proper way is to ask these people in your inner circle to write a letter of recommendation for you. We're also going to get into what information you want these people to know about you, not only, but the school as well that you are going to be applying to, because that will play a huge factor as well. And we'll finish up with a couple common mistakes that, one, I made, but then two, are commonly seen in a lot of letters of recommendation and how you can avoid those. So let's get into why letters of recommendation even matter in the first place. Now, letters of recommendation, again, are similar to that personal statement. It's a form of writing that really kind of explains who you are as a person outside of your GPA and all the statistics that they see on paper. As an admissions committee for any type of graduate school, they're going to look at these letters of recommendation and seeing what these other people think of you. This can show a lot. If you find someone that is going to vouch for your work ethic, how hard are you working in the classroom? Are you raising your hand, asking questions? Are you curious? Are you a good student? And I think that says a lot about the type of learner that you may become or already are in graduate school. And that can be very attractive for a lot of graduate schools. Another thing to consider would be the insight to your character. I think character is a mouthful of a word, but essentially it can range from a lot of the things that make you you. Are you the type of person to put your head down and work? Are you always coming up with new ideas and fun ideas? Are you the person that likes to lighten up the group or drive the group to be more focused? And you kind of get the gist of that. I don't have to keep going on, but essentially the people that are closest to you are going to know that. And that's what you want to really bring out in the entirety goal of a letter of recommendation. This is also a place where you can explain your skills a little bit better. And not only are you writing your own skills in your personal statement, but you're also going to have someone vouching for your skills in your letters of recommendation. And that can be a huge thing, because on paper, they may say, oh, I can do this, this, and this, but that's you saying that. However, if you get 3 other people saying, oh, Brett can do Excel work, or he actually saved someone with a CPR certification and writes workout programs with a CSCS. Things like that are going to actually go a lot further with an admissions committee. That tip number 2, I like to bring up the type of people and the people in your circle that you are asking to write your letter of recommendation. Now, biggest advice when actually getting into this is sitting down. And I want you to really sit down. And I want you to draw a circle, okay? And I want you to draw a big circle, and I want you to list friends, family, teammates, coaches, everybody kind of in that circle. Now I want you to draw a smaller circle. That small circle, probably about 5th the size of that big circle, is going to be who are going to write your letter of recommendation. You want people that are really, really close to you, know you the best, going to vouch for your success and want you to succeed. Now, considering the guidelines of who you're allowed to ask or who you want to ask in order to fully complete a successful or good application, include a handful of people. So one of them, professors, okay? Professors or supervisors will know you the best in a professional setting, but then also an academic setting as well. Secondly, you want to find people who know the skills that you have that you can apply to that specific graduate program. With that being said, those skills are going to be super applicable in the program that you are applying for. Now, you don't want to find someone that vouches for your ability to throw a football as far as you can. You want to find someone that vouches for how hard you study and your work ethic and how it pays off in the grades. Or find a professor that, for example, in this, I know this isn't in this specific niche. Obviously, we're talking about any type of people that can vouch for your skills, but this can be hand in hand. Many of these people can fill a lot of these subjects, per se, or titles. Now, find a professor that actually recognizes that you put in the extra mile, the extra work to do the extra credit, okay? That optional extra credit at the end of the semester to get those 2 extra points. That professor is going to see that you are willing to go the extra mile to get that extra credit point. Those 2 are going to be as professors and then people that know you the best to vouch for your skills. A couple ideas for you guys would be any type of coach you've had in the past, person you were involved with at school, any type of club, faculty member outside of a professor. It could be a boss that you had, a supervisor, and it really could be anybody. I would just say find someone who's going to speak very highly of you. One thing I would try to avoid though is using family members or really close friends your age to write your letter of recommendation. I feel like this is somewhat consensual, but some people still may do it. Just avoid family and friends because those aren't going to be reliable sources for the admissions committee. And I even think you can bring it down a little bit further to people that can write compelling letters of recommendation. You don't have to love the person, they just have to love you. Big concept. Let's just take a professor or a supervisor or anybody that you choose who knows your skills best, and let's just say that they've gotten 50 other students before you into their dream PT school, graduate school, whatever it may be. Why not use them? They know how to convey a message, they know how to speak highly of other people, and they probably have a couple connections within the graduate school industry. That's another tip, kind of like an advanced tip there, to really find someone that has done this a couple times. And also, I would advise that another tip be find people that are actually important. So for me, for example, I actually did the director of my major, okay? So the health and human science major at LMU, I actually went to the director who I had for a couple classes and I said, hey, can you please write me a letter of recommendation? And what this does is using his name essentially saying, I am getting vouched from the director of my major. You could even take this a step further if you develop relationships with your president or any type of person, the dean by chance. If you develop relationships with these people, why not ask them and just go on a limb? Because that could go way further than you could ever imagine in the scheme of the admissions committee analyzing your application. Okay, now one of the most honestly important parts about letters of recommendation is the timing of when you ask. You never want to put your recommender in a time crunch, okay? So don't go asking for a letter of recommendation with a week for them to do it, okay? People, and most of the important people that you're asking are going to be way too busy to just whip out a really high quality letter of recommendation for you. So with that being said, my advice is 6 to 8 weeks in advance of when that application is due. Now, you don't just go ask them, shoot an email, see them in person and ask them and then forget about it. And the day before you ask them, hey, where's my letter of recommendation? I told you the deadline was January 12th. That's exactly what you don't want to do. What you want to do is ask them formally, and we'll get into how to ask them, but you ask them at a certain date, about 6 to 8 weeks before that application is due. Now, what you're going to end up doing is check in with them on a weekly basis, asking very politely if they've written your letter of recommendation and submitted it. This may seem a little annoying at first, but it's crucial. It's your future. This is your application and putting your best foot forward. If you don't apply with the required letters of recommendation, your application is right out the water. So you're kind of putting a lot of reliance and accountability on these professors and supervisors, whoever you decide to ask. You also have to understand that there may be a lot of things that this person that you ask has a lot going on in their life. And that's also something that you have to factor in. A couple of the people I asked were really busy during the time of the year. Just being persistent, being polite, I got them to really put my application forward in their to-do list. And I think that's a really, really big thing if you're just constantly in their face, in a respectful way, of course, just sending them a nice message on a weekly basis, asking them if they could complete it or submit it or do whatever process needs to be done. This was a similar script of what I used. I would honestly suggest doing this in person if possible, just because you get that person-to-person connection, which I think is highly more valuable when developing those relationships with the people that you value most. Along with this email list or seeing this person in person, I would also advise providing them information about yourself and your current status when applying. This means is you're going to provide them a list of things such as your updated resume, a list of the schools and programs that you're applying for, along with their deadlines, a brief statement of purpose or your personal statement, any specific qualities or skills that you want them to know about you that they may not even know. You could also ask specific experiences that you've had or interactions that you've had with that person and see if they can mention that in their letter of recommendation. This is going to streamline the process incrementally, and it's going to make it way easier for them to write your letter of recommendation. Okay, now another thing I would highly recommend is providing them details about the program that you are applying to. This is really important because a lot of graduate programs already have values and skills that they admire, and they embody their program almost like a culture with. And let's just say, for example, graduate school A really highly valued diversity, equity, and inclusion. You don't want a professor or a supervisor or someone that's writing your letter of recommendation to write about how you only work alone, you hate people, and that's what makes you successful. That would be very, very bad and very harm your application when applying to graduate school A. Now, it may work for graduate school B. Now, that's the important thing of why you need to tell them what these schools highly value. And it could be very specific to the schools. A lot of the PT schools highly value a lot of diversity, equity, and inclusion. So if you had a professor that taught a diversity, equity, and inclusion class and wrote a letter of recommendation for you, perfect. You nail it on the bullseye, okay? However, you want to make sure that if there are schools with different variables, that you are having letters of recommendations that reflect those specific school values. Another thing you can mention is why that program aligns with your goals. What makes that program attractive to you? Why do you want to go there? Even further than program ideals, but rather what specific traits and skills that program could be looking for, can be a vital thing to mention in those letters of recommendation. It's really big to inform those recommenders, hey, I want you to say this, because school A, B, and C are looking for this. We've went over how to ask them, who to ask, and why letters of recommendation are very important and what we should be asking them for. But I think a biggest thing when considering letters of recommendation is that people are taking time out of their busy schedules to write about you. With that being said, I think gratitude should be and is the last final step of having a really great letter of recommendation experience. Be super grateful and thankful for the fact that they are taking time out of their day to write about you. So with that being said, when they send in their letters of recommendation, whether it be to you or to the school itself, really be grateful and thank them. Send them messages. Just let them know how appreciative you are of their sacrifice and their time. In addition to that, I would also say, please let them know what schools you get accepted into and get rejected from. Now, that can be a big thing because they are putting all this work into it and they want to see you succeed. So letting them know where you succeeded, where you failed, is going to be a very, very big thing for them in understanding, hey, I helped them do something great. Alrighty, common mistakes, and I've already covered a couple of these, and I want you guys to avoid these so you can have the most successful letter of recommendation experience as possible. All right, number one, asking too late or last minute. Do not be doing this. Ask 6 to 8 weeks early and you are going to be perfectly fine. And give them a couple nudges here and there every week in a very politeful, grateful manner, and you guys are going to be set. All right, number two, choosing someone you don't know that well and kind of 50-50. They may write some good things, they may write some bad things. Do not choose these type of people. You're probably better off just having one really good one than 5 or 4 iffy ones. Choose people that know you. Don't choose people that don't know you. Number 3, do not provide unclear information or leave the people that are writing your recommendations in the dust and blindsided. Give them a couple bits of information about yourself, your resume, things like that we mentioned in the video to help them really write the most comprehensive letter of recommendation possible. And lastly, number 4, forgetting to express how grateful you are. Make sure you are expressing that and be super thankful that they are actually taking the time out of their day and following up with them about those results that you get.